free-to-play lessons from new mobile leaders. She is the co-founder and CEO of Chartboost, was an early employee at Tapulous, the company acquired by the Walt Disney Company in 2010 to become Disney Mobile. She holds a bachelor's and master's degree in business administration from the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, and the Assad Business School? Yes, did I get that right?
Oh, yeah, Asade. I'm from Barcelona,
Asade.
so that's the Spanish
I'm sorry, my pronunciation
Okay.
is horrible. In Barcelona. And in 2012, she was named the Forbes magazine 30 Under 30 list as one of the top disruptors and innovators in marketing under 30 years old. Here to talk about lessons from new mobile leaders is Maria ALEGRE.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So, who can tell me what happened on July 10th, 2008? iPhone was there before that. What else? Any other guesses? iPad? I think we got the iPad later. After that. Good. The App Store launched. So we had iPhones, but we didn't have app stores. And I think that marks an important day for all of us here. I think that the App Store launching is a door for all the developers to access millions of phones, and now there's many more millions of phones. So anyway, I joined this industry 5 years ago, a couple months after that happened. And I'm trying for today's talk to summarize everything I've learned in the last 5 years in the industry, trying to save you all some time, hopefully get some new ideas. So a little bit of context about what have I been doing the last 5 years. I was at Tapulous as an early employee. We made Tap Tap Revenge, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what I learned there and trying to get the key learnings. Right now, 2.5 years ago, I started with one of the early Tapulous employees. We started Chartboost. We make technology for mobile games. We have a team of 70 amazing people in San Francisco. And I'll talk also about what I've learned with that process. And the idea, I summarize my top 10 learnings so you can know how much is left. And it's just a quick summary of both a freemium perspective on the industry and then what I've learned as an entrepreneur starting companies, which I think it's about starting companies, so starting gaming companies and any kinds of companies. So it applies to what we're doing too. Hopefully it helps. So first learning, it's a worldwide market. And we all know that, but there are two big examples that have made a big impact on my experience. First of all, I'm from Barcelona. I moved to Silicon Valley because on iTunes University, I heard about a bunch of entrepreneurs that my age were just starting amazing companies. And I think that the fact that Apple and Google and a bunch of other companies are democratizing information so you can have access to that information from everywhere is it's inspiring. And I think that it's one market. And that is for entrepreneurs. It's also for gaming. When I started Chartboost in San Francisco, we started talking to developers about what we're building and why what we're building is cool and why you should integrate our SDK. And these are the 4 first games that believed in our team and decided to give it a try. So Fluic, Neon Play, Kilu, and IMS. And then we looked at it and realized that Kilu is in Canada, Neon Play in UK, Kilu in Denmark, and IMS in Greece. And our 4 first developers, they were everywhere in the world. And we're in San Francisco, Skyping with everyone. So there's no barriers. It's one market. And as a developer, you're reaching gamers worldwide. As a company, you're reaching a market worldwide. And I think that's just amazing. Second learning, if the guy sitting next to me can do it, I can too. And I think that a conference like Casual Connect, it's a great example of that because you are surrounded by a bunch of developers that have made amazing things and they're sitting next to you. And I find that inspiring. I find conferences inspiring. I find Silicon Valley inspiring because of that proximity with other people building huge things. And I think that, well, I've learned from that, and I hope you can all find inspiration sitting next to you in the chair in your right and your left. So that's another of my key learnings. Number 3, leveraging the calendar is free and powerful. What do I mean with leveraging the calendar? This is one of our developer friends. His company, Focused Apps, makes Hit Tennis, and they coordinated the launch of their game with this famous tennis tournament, and they got a lot of promotion and featuring because of that. They did other 10 things to make that game successful, and it was a good game, but there are things happening around you that you can leverage to make the most of it, and leveraging that is free, and it's just something that I've been seeing over and over and experiences while making games and seeing what our partners are doing, and I think that's powerful. So other ideas: Christmas, Halloween, Valentine's, Thanksgiving, summer, winter, New Year, Chinese New Year, Carnival, and sport events. You should look around the calendar what's going on and try to time promotions and leverage that free featuring. Learning number 4, distinction between iteration and innovation. So both iterating and innovating are super important. You have to learn from both things, and you need to know what you're doing at each stage and be able to combine and jump from one to the other one. And I've experienced this in 2 separate moments myself, and then I'm also looking at inspiration of what's happening around. So I have an example of in a company. I see t-shirts around there. So anyway, first example is Tap Tap Revenge. We were there on day 1 on July 10th, 2008, launching Tap Tap Revenge and a bunch of other games. And Apple was kind of adding features to the App Store as we as we went, right? Like July, we only had paid games and free games. Then they launched a couple months later or years later in-app commerce, and then the social layers, and then push notifications. And the whole Tap Tap Revenge experience was about iteration. And we had Tap Tap Revenge, for those of you who don't know, it's like the Guitar Hero for the iPhone. So it's a music game. But then we added social layer to it, and we had an avatar in a store with avatar items, and then we had coins so you can buy that, and challenges and engagement. And all of that was iterating on something that was working and trying to add new things to something that was already working. And that's iteration, and it's so important because you're learning so much. But then there's a moment where you kind of stop and analyze everything you've learned and start from zero with a completely new perspective. And in my case, that happened when we started Chartboost. We saw everything that we had learned and decided, okay, knowing what we know now, what would we do differently? And what kind of company are we going to start? And that's when we decided to build technology for game developers. Another cool example that I see in the industry, I don't know, I've been reading the tweets at the conference this week, and there was one that I liked that said, Supercell came out of nowhere, and that is so not true. Supercell is a team that comes from super experienced game developers from Digital Chocolate and other companies, and they took a step back and then suddenly did a radical innovating change when we all thought that could not be another farming game, and they came up with things like buying and selling from your friends and different game mechanics. And I always love when I go to Heyday and nothing is dying. I can still collect everything I have. So I don't know, there are tons of examples around us of how much you can be learning with iterating. That's super valuable, but also how amazing it can be when you actually do one of these big jumps. So that's one of the key learnings too. Learning number 5, a network is a powerful asset. Okay, that's an obvious one, but owning that network, being able to leverage that network is just powerful, in building the tools to do that, we just realized how valuable it was. So again, I learned that at Tapulous. We had the Tap Tap Revenge franchise and all these different versions of Tap Tap Revenge. Every single time we launch a new game, we made it get to number 1. We were number 1 every Christmas day of every year that I was there. And we were able to just connect that network and communicate to our user what was coming, why was it amazing, in a very effective way. Other companies doing that, Backflip, they have a great network. They're able to move traffic from one game to another and use all of their casual games to promote their money-making game, which is Dragonvale. And networks are powerful. And another company doing that is Outfit 7. And there are endless examples of other companies that are building networks and leveraging that. So that was another key learning, networks. Learning number 6, when data talks, you need to listen. And sometimes in making games, there's a lot of intuition and hypotheses, and then you try things. And sometimes by trying, you run into something that you were not expecting, and it's just an obvious answer that it's told to you by the data. And a very clear example of how, when this happened to me and to us, team at Tapalus, these were 15 things we were doing with every time we launch a new title. We were doing a newsfeed and telling our users about the game. We were doing banner ads and cross-promotion across our games. We were doing featuring in store, in our own avatar store. We were also trying to get Apple featuring and giving them all the creatives. We were doing an emails newsletter to millions of subscribers. We were promoting it on Facebook. We were promoting it on Twitter. We were doing a video and promoting that video and a cool video clip of music. And we had Lady Gaga and Coldplay and a bunch of cool music, so our videos were amazing. We would spend some money on AdMob, some money on Tapjoy. We're doing some experiments. We had a beta crew that had been testing the game for a while, and they did our guerrilla marketing and told their friends, and we gave them codes, and we did a bunch of things there. We did a blog post, and we did a contest in the blog post, so we told them, if you can play and beat the high score, blah, blah, blah. We did press, and then we did avatar items, so you could only get the special item if you got the new game. And then we did full screen interstitials. And one day, we look at the data, and we see this. Everything else we're doing, nice to have. Full screen interstitials, 80% of the impact. We were not expecting that. And, well, we took that learning and built something else for the future. And these things happen to you when you're just trying many things. Sometimes you get a surprise. You need to listen to that and react. That's one thing I learned. Learning number 7. Mastering content cycles can buy you months of success. So I'm going to explain first the content cycle we did. And again, I'm going to look for other examples in the industry. It's not about launching a game and forgetting about it anymore. And that's not news. Games are about it's about content delivering and getting your users engaged. So this was our cycle. We had a song every Thursday. We had a theme, which is the background of the song. So if it was a Lady Gaga song, Lady Gaga would have been like the premium song. But we had indie groups that would give us songs for free, and then would make a theme with the artists. So we had a song, a theme, then we had a premium song, because with the free song, we get you to come back, and we give you something new to buy. We had an avatar outfit, and we would literally go to what's the fashion out there and look for inspiration and look for new clothes, or look for what's in the calendar and do avatar items for that week. And then we would do a contest. And we had that formula down, and we would do it every Thursday. And we had a team of 1.5 persons just doing that. Every single Thursday, you launch a song, and you give people an excuse to come back, and you give yourself an excuse to do a push notification, a newsfeed, an interstitial, banner ads, a blog post, Facebook, and you create yourself a bunch of cycles week after week, and keep your users coming back for new things. Another company doing that very successfully is Kilu. Subway Surfers, they've been traveling around the world. They've gone to Tokyo and New York and Sydney and Rome and Miami and Paris and Rio, and every month they come up with a completely new theme, a new character, a new board, new challenges, and when you're able to master that cycle, you just extend your game's lifetime, and that's amazing and powerful. Okay, so formulas to buy time, and GetSet founder is an inspiration for this one, and I see him over there. But we also learned that at Tapalus, there are formulas to buy time, and when you're making making games, you have to manage the business side with the creative side. And you are a team of artists making something amazing, and you need to finance that amazingness. And what we did at Tapalus was sponsorships and versions and reskins of the stuff we were doing. And that's one example. We had Katy Perry Revenge. That was a big title for us because it's a big deal with Katy Perry and the whole process of getting that music and that licensing and then the new game. And then we had the Katy Perry by Bing, which is just one song of that game. We made a different app. We got the money from Bing. We shared there's a thing with Katy Perry and Bing and Tapulous, and that buys us, I don't know, 1 month, 2 months of time to be able to focus on the next thing. And you can buy time doing these things. Mega Run and Monsters Run. That's another example, and there's a lot of games doing movie reskins, and it's another way to buy time get some extra time to be working on next products. 2 other ways of getting extra time is there sometimes are new markets that are complicated to tackle, and in 2010, that was Android. There was a lot of people outsourcing their Android development. Everyone knew Android is the future. It's just too hard right now because there's all these devices and the payment's complicated. Let me just find a publisher, do it all for me, and give me a check at the end of the month. We did that at Tapulous, and a bunch of people were doing that 2010. It sounds crazy right now because Android is not the future anymore, it's the present. But people are doing this right now with Asia and looking for publishers to. It's just complicated, and there's all these app stores, and maybe you can buy some time by partnering with someone for a while, and that gives you time to focus on creative development. So that's another of the cool learnings. That is combined, so again, summary, reskinning, partnering with publishers, or outsourcing emerging markets until they're big enough for you to tackle them. And this one goes combined with the next one, which is choose your moment and jump. There's the future markets you will have time to deal with, but then these markets become big enough at a specific point, and you need to choose that moment and go for it. And this applies to a new market, this applies to a new platform, this applies to a new game. Once you're done iterating and learning, and all the incremental learning is out of that, you need to find a time to jump and do the next version and the next release and the next completely different game, and take everything you learn and put it there. And that also applies to starting a new company. And I mean, that was my experience with taking everything I learned from Tapulous and starting from zero with a completely fresh perspective. So again, finding your moment to jump. This is for me a learning, and I hope it's an inspiration for more people that are learning, and that can find their time to just go for it. And finally, number 10, it's a now industry. And it's not about what I learned from the past. It's not about when is the future getting to the present. It's about now. And it's about what you're able to take from everything you're learning in the conference and implement today in your game. And it's about the cycle of developing, launching, learning, and developing, launching, learning, and continuing doing that cycle. And to enforce this point, I have my cool whiteboards. So I'm going to ask another question. What's the difference between these 2 whiteboards?
One's erasable.
Sorry?
One's erasable.
One's erasable. OK, good. So what's a good thing about an erasable whiteboard?
Easy to make changes.
Perfect. So in an erasable whiteboard versus that whiteboard, I can say, OK, I'm going to put, actually, this sale it's a real sale, so I'm going to make it $0.99. And I'm actually going to add a new item, because now I have stars, but I can also sell, I don't know, squares. And you put a price, and you add new things. So, I mean, this is obvious, but this is the kind of technology that you need in your game, so you're able to do this cycle of develop, launch, and learn. You need to have the technology that gives you this flexibility, so you don't have to start a completely new page every time that you want to do a change. You need to be able to change things in real time and be able to do a lot more cycles. And yes, this is the 10 seconds of shameless self-plug. This is what we have learned. This is one of the things we've learned at Chartboost, and we're building product with all these learnings. So anyway, we're building backends to give developers the power to change things in real time, and we're hoping to take all these learnings and make products out of them. So this was it. This is my 20 minutes of summaries, and I'll take questions.
Question time.
You can ask questions about anything. People that came in the middle, don't be worried about me having talked about it before. I'll answer anything.
Oh, come on.
Yes.
You talked about find your moment and jump. Can you say more about that and say what you mean by jump?
By jump, I mean that it's hard to take this moment and stop and start something new. And it's fine to define when is the right moment, and it never feels like the right moment. When you have a successful game, you can continue building that. But you know that eventually, if you want to do a radical innovation, you need to start from a different place. So we've seen, I don't know, like Tap Tap Revenge, it was free with advertising, and then we had the premium version, right? And the free was to promote the premium or to make money with advertising. And then we were adding all the social elements, but it was kind of an add-on. And then companies are learning that it's not about adding social and stores to your existing game. It's about learning how to make a freemium game and then making a new game with that in mind since the very beginning. Sometimes you can do that in the same company. Sometimes you have to start a completely new project, a new company. And I don't know, for me as an entrepreneur, I was at Tabulous learning how to other people were building companies and finding that moment to say, now I've learned enough, or at least I've learned some things, I gotta try. You just need to find that moment, and it's hard, but you gotta do it. And again, it's an inspiring environment to be surrounded by so many other entrepreneurs in games and everything else that I think life is easy to find that moment.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you're defining this new space where everything is now, this sort of hyper-learning, hyper-activity market, which means you don't have a lot of time to do planning and strategy. So can you talk about failure and how important failure is in the overall process?
Sure. I mean, we failed too. And we launched a bunch of games that did not make it as big as we expected. But the thing with launching early and then iterating is that you are not investing on that until like it's too late and you've put all your resources. The cool thing about building your game in a way where you have flexibility is that you test it with the market as soon as possible, and then you can learn with that. So you minimize the impact of a big failure because you're failing early. We partner with a lot of developers that are testing their games first in emerging markets before they do the big launch. And this way they can detect failure before it happens, or kill games before they go out if they're not exactly where they want to put all the resources on. So by detecting what works and what doesn't early, you can minimize that.
Thank you.
And honestly, about failure, it's going to happen. Just move on fast until the next thing.
Right. Thank you. Other questions? Really? All right, then. We'll just have to thank Maria for a really great presentation. Thank you.